5 years out. That's where I want to start, because 5 years is the window almost nobody uses well. It sounds like a lot of time, but it doesn't behave like a lot of time. What actually happens is people spend year 5 telling themselves they have plenty of time. And then somewhere around year 3, they wake up to the fact that a couple of the moves they needed to make have quietly closed. I've watched it happen more times than I can count. If you're sitting in this window right now, I don't want you to coast through it. I want you to work through it. Think of this as the year you set the table. Tax planning, Social Security timing, paycheck you'll eventually build. None of that stands on its own. It all leans on the decisions you make right here in year 5. You nail this year, and the ones after it get much lighter. Wave it off, and you end up reworking the basics later under more pressure with fewer options on the table. So that's the plan for today. I'm going to take you through the decisions that actually belong in year 5, and then a short list of some loose ends that feel like they can wait right up until the day they can't. Let's get into it. First thing to do is put a stake in the ground. There are decisions that have to get made in year 5. Make them well, and everything downstream, year 4, year 3, and all the way to the finish, get much cleaner and calmer. I'm going to start with the question that shapes everything else, and it's the one people least want to answer. And it's not, how much do you have? When are you done? The actual day you will walk out. Here is why I lean on this so hard. Almost every number that matters after this gets calculated from that date. It's the 0 point. Move it, and the whole board moves with it. How many more paychecks you get to save, how many years your money has to stretch. When it makes sense to switch Social Security on, what do you do about health coverage if you're leaving before 65? When someone tells me, oh, sometime in my early 60s, what they've really told me is that none of those numbers can be locked in yet. We're planning around a smudge, and that smudge is expensive. I have sat across from 2 people the same age, same savings, same everything, except one planned to leave about 1.5 years before the other. Completely different Social Security call, different tax picture right out of the gate, a different amount of market risk each one could actually afford to carry. Same person on paper, 2 completely different plans, and the only thing that moved was the date. In year 5, you commit a month and a year, written down somewhere real. And then, and this is the part people skip, you hold it up against the years that don't cooperate. What if the market's ugly the month before you mean to go? What if the company reshuffles and makes the call for you? Once you've already lived through the bad version in your head, a rough year turns into an inconvenience instead of a 5-alarm fire. That's the whole difference between a date and a hope. The next step is, how much does your life cost? A mistake I run into constantly. People decide on a magic number, the pile they think they need, before they've ever really looked at what their life costs. They reverse engineer everything from the pile, and that's the wrong end of the telescope. The number should fall out of the life, not the other way around. We start with the spending, and I have people sorted into 2 categories. The first is fixed spending, the costs that show up every month regardless of what the market is doing. Roof, food on the table, the lights on, healthcare, and the irregular but inevitable expenses most people forget to plan for. None of those show up every month, but they show up. And then the second category is discretionary spending. This is the good stuff. The trips, table at the restaurant, the hobby you finally have time for. That's the reason you're retiring in the first place. So it does matter. Both categories, though, need a real number. And I want to push back on something you've probably heard, which is that spending just naturally drifts down once you retire. Sometimes, not usually in the beginning though. Those first years are when you finally cash in on everything you kept putting off for 3 decades. The trip that was always someday, the project that lived on a list, the plans that started with once we retire. Stuff tends to land early while the knees and the energy still cooperate. Get this honest, genuinely honest, and every number after it has something solid to stand on. Step 3 is to run the projection that you've been avoiding. Running the numbers feels like it might hand you news you don't want, but year 5 is precisely when you want to run it, including and maybe especially when you're afraid of what the answer could be. Given what you're doing right now, do you land where you need to land? Same savings rate, same investment mix, same target date. Does the math get you home? It's a yes or no, and you deserve to actually know which one it is. Here's what more than 2 decades of doing this has taught me. 23 years of sitting in that chair, most people are in better shape than the story they've been telling themselves. A huge number of folks carry retirement around as this low hum of worry in the background, a number they're sure they're missing and can't quite bring themselves to look straight at. Then we run it, and it turns out they're further along than they feared, and you can physically watch the worry let go of them. That's a great day. And for the ones who do find a real gap, finding it now with 5 years of room is a completely different thing than finding it with 12 months to go. Right now, the levers all still work. What you're saving, how it's invested, when you leave, and what you spend. Pull them while they're still in reach. The next thing is understanding the right size risk for the phase that you are in. A lot of advisors tiptoe around this one, and I'd rather just say it plainly. How much risk you can stomach and how much risk your plan can survive are two completely different things, and people blur them together all the time. The stomach part is emotional. How much of a market drop can you watch without doing something you'll regret? The survival part is pure arithmetic. How much of a drop your plan can eat and still hold together. They feel identical, but they're not. Picture this. You retire right on schedule, and about 6 months in, the market falls 35%. Now you're pulling income out of a pile that's a whole lot smaller than it was the day you handed in your badge. Can your plan take that hit without forcing you to unretire or gut your spending or do lasting damage to the portfolio you'll live on for the next 30 years? If the answer is no, then it doesn't matter how steady you were watching the markets tumble back in your 40s. Your plan's capacity for risk is lower than your appetite for it, because drawing money out of a falling portfolio is a fundamentally different animal than sitting tight and letting a falling portfolio recover while you keep working. And now the checklist. After those decisions, year 5 is also when you go back and tidy up the stuff that pile up quickly over a working life and never feel pressing right up until the moment they cause a genuine mess. Let me hit 3 of them really fast. One's your coverage. Pull up your umbrella policy and give your home and auto limits a real look. And if there's any version of your life where you leave work before 65 and figuring out health coverage isn't some nice to have on the side, it is central. A single serious uncovered health event in that stretch before Medicare kicks in can quietly erase years of careful saving. I'm not talking hypotheticals. I've watched it happen to real people. Also, your estate paperwork. This is hands down the most ignored corner I run into across the board. Wills drafted a decade and a half ago that describe a life you no longer live, no healthcare directive on file, no durable power of attorney, and the one that quietly ambushes people more than any other, an X still sitting there as a named beneficiary on an old IRA or life insurance policy, right where you left them years ago. It's far more common than you'd guessed. Make year 5 the year every one of these documents gets dragged up to match your life you're living now, not the one you were living in 2010. And when it comes to debt, I'm not going to stand here and tell you every dollar has to be gone before you retire. That's not the rule. The rule is anything you're still required to pay every month becomes something your retirement income has to go out and cover, month after month. The rule is that anything you're still required to pay every month becomes something your retirement income has to go out and cover, month after month for the rest of your life. So know precisely what's riding along with you and make a clear-eyed choice about each piece of it. Don't just drift over the line, still carrying obligations you never actually sat down and decided to bring with you. This is the part where you get the foundation right before anyone's talking about the fun stuff, the finishes, the day-to-day. Get this solid and everything you build on top of it goes up straighter and faster. This is the job this year. If any of this has put a question mark next to where you stand in year 5, your date, your spending, your projection, your risk, here are 2 easy next moves. The first is to grab our free retirement readiness checklist. It's the same framework we open every client relationship with. It'll lay out plainly where you stand across all 5 years, what's handled, and what's still loose, and what deserves your attention first. The link is right under this video in the show notes. Second, you can book a no-cost discovery call with our office. This is not a sales pitch. It's a real conversation about your situation, your date, your numbers, your gaps, and an honest read on whether we're the right people to work through it with you. Either way, the next move belongs to you. I'm Will Hoffman, and this is Pre-Retirement Navigated, and I'll see you on next week's episode.